up, everybody? Welcome back to the Stay Tranquilo Podcast. It's been a while. We're glad to be back. It's great to be here with Juan and talk about the Johnny Cuba brand and some of the things that we've been able to accomplish the last few months. It's been a fun ride. But before we get crazy into anything, I want to introduce Juan Guixens, the man behind the operation of Johnny Cuba. And Juan, tell us a little bit about...
It's a work in progress. Work in progress. Thank you. Now, basically, again, my name is Juan Guixens. I was born and raised here in Miami. Basically, I'm a Hialeah guy. I was actually bred in Hialeah, and basically, like many of our parents, they came over, from Cuba and looking for a better life, and we were in the food. We've always been in the food trade ever since the days back in Cuba, and so. We talked about doing our own stuff, and we finally did. Johnny Cuba kind of came later, and basically, it's a business concept that we had. I've had it. I registered, the first trade registration was about 15 years ago that I had on it. And we did cigars, but that kind of didn't pan out. Yeah. It didn't kind of pan out. So basically, let it kind of idle there for a bit, and until I found something, that could tie the brand to it.
Right.
I mean.
So the beer essentially was that product that allowed you to.
Was a catalyst. I see it as a catalyst, and you probably ask why the beer.
Right.
It basically, because beer is kind of universal, and really. I analyzed the platforms that we were working in the food trade. We basically sold a lot in the Cuban base, Miami, the Haitian base, and then, a younger generation. And I wanted to see how I can bring everything together. And beer was a perfect item. Basically, it was, it was finding the beer, the partner, in the beer. And unfortunately, I looked to produce it here. I did my due diligence for about 2 years here. And it didn't pan out, so I had this working relationship with a brewery in Germany, and I was bringing one of their non-alcoholic items, and they were back and forth. They wanted for me to bring in their beer. They had a brand that they wanted, but it really didn't say too much, So I said, you know what? I'll tell you what. Let me develop a brand, and basically we bring your liquid, put it in there, and we market it. So basically, that's how we started. Basically, we kind of delayed because of the Corona scenario. We waited, into March. Basically, actually in April. We brought it this past April, but before that, we planned it. It was almost took 18 months.
Yeah, it's definitely
to bring it to market.
A work in progress.
To bring it to market, and I knew the space was competitive, and it is competitive. So it's just growing it. Basically, it's not, per se, right now it's a beer brand, but it's really more, Johnny Cuba, I want it to be more of a lifestyle brand.
Exactly.
Is basically what I'm looking at.
And I'm glad that you bring that up, right? Something that, separates a brand and something that separates a product is like the storyline behind it, right? So obviously the name of the beer is Johnny Cuba. Can you tell us a little bit about why it's called Johnny Cuba?
There's no secrets. I tell people basically, I've always studied the models of Tommy Bahama, Panama Jack, Maui Jim, and stuff, and how they did it, how they went to market, and how they grew really fast. And they diversified the brand, and then basically what they used was the licensing instrument. They licensed the brand, so kind of said, you know what, I saw the name Johnny is kind of I'm Juan. Basically. And funny story, the reason really a lot of the Johnny is because I remember growing up as a kid, we lived in Hialeah, and my dad had a partner. And all of a sudden, I was like 11, I remember, and they were business partner. They installed cabinets and stuff like that, hardware. And all of a sudden, it kept calling him Johnny. And I was like, hey, Dad, why does he call you Johnny? You're Juan. He goes, no, that's what in the United States, the Americans call Juans, they're Johns, so Johnny and stuff like that. So basically that always stuck, and basically, so I said, you know what, I correlated, I'm Juan, my dad's Juan, my grandfather was Juan, so hey, basically, why not the Johnny? And the Johnny Cuba has a ring. Juan Cuba doesn't have much of a ring.
No, yeah.
But the Johnny Cuba did, so.
Johnny Cuba definitely
so I kind of, told friends of mine, hey, what do you think about the name, and So basically, that's when it was kind of born, I guess. If you want to, as far as the gallo, the little red.
Yeah. So for people looking on the audio, and we'll crack one open, so we can have one while we're on here. But there's a little gallo. Can you tell us about the gallo? Obviously,
rooster,
the connection
a little rooster there
to the brand here.
And it is a Cuban rooster,
right.
Basically, because there's a lot of roosters out there. So maybe he's a cackling rooster, and basically where it comes from as a youngster
Cheers.
Cheers, man. Yeah. Oh, shoot. All right. Good beer.
It's a great beer.
And the rooster goes. My grandfather, I used to come back as a kid, lived in Hialeah again. I would come from the beach, take a shower, and you guys probably don't remember this place. It was called, there was parents probably do, Sundays on the Bay. And basically I just shower, get out the door. So my grandfather would sit on the porch and smoke a cigar. And all of a sudden I would come out and he says, muchacho, I'm going to speak a little Spanish.
Yeah, go for it.
Muchacho, te vas a quedar como el gallo morón. He mumbled, so I didn't have the... sin pluma y cascareando. Through the years, I said, he was telling me this thing. And then I did my research back when I was looking for the research, what to put on a logo.
Yeah.
I started reading Gallo Morón. And actually, you go to the website, and the Cuban, you Google it, and there is a statue, Gallo Morón. And then the saying is that, the saying translated into English is like, hey, be careful, your feathers are going to ruffle if you play hard,
right.
Party hard or play hard, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so that kind of stuck. So that's kind of the, and it's a cackling one, so basically because they're.
Yeah. I mean, you drive down 8th Street or Coral Way, you see the roosters all over the place.
And at Key West, I was down there.
And
I was down there with my wife. And I'm kind of a creature of habit. I go to a place I like to eat.
Yeah.
I'll go back 2 and 3 times, like I had breakfast. And I remember going one morning, there was a rooster just walking around because in the Key West they're kind of free. They roam around.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I see the rooster. And I'm thinking. Then the following day I went to eat in the morning again because I had a good breakfast there. The damn rooster was still there. And, he was back there, and I said, "Man, that's something." They're called that rooster. And at the same time I was kind of working on the logo,
right,
on the trade dress
because actually
this trade dress that we have. That's like the 3rd trade dress. It's had a makeover. The first one with the cigar, which
they designed the can awesome.
And basically, and then I had one. We were working on another project there, and it just didn't feel right until I contracted this guy in Spain.
Right.
He was working on food products of ours, and I go, listen, I got this. What do you think? He goes, give me a shot at it. So I send him, what we had, and I told him, listen, I want my letterings. I want my, basically. So. Came back about 3 weeks later. I'm not pushing him or pressuring him.
Yeah.
And he came back and he came up with that logo. Now, heaven knows how many times, he went back and forth and scratched the thing.
Of course.
And I said, listen, let's go with it. I like it. First things I go.
How many people looked at the logo before you gave the final approval? Was it just you and you were like, I love it? And
No, I showed it around. I just showed it around and stuff like that. But for me, he had me as soon as he emailed, he got it. I started. He had me.
I love it.
That old saying, "I had me a hello." Right there, he had it.
Love it first.
And really, at first he sent me the can. Nothing really changed. I mean, there was a little details we had to iron out. There's some sayings and stuff like that. Like we have that saying, And actually, it's funny because as soon as we had it out, he was the one that proofed the artwork and actually saw the original can, because back then it was during the holiday last year. Mm-hmm. And with FedEx and DHA, listen, just send it to my art guy. If he approves it, we'll go with it.
Okay.
And sure enough, he got it. Hey, listen, we're going to do it. And then when he saw the original can, he says, it's nice, but it's not there. So he wants to do some touch-ups on it.
Yeah.
But
everyone that I've spoken to about the can, they love it. They think it's classy. The red is what pops. And the cooler, I thought was so cool because it brought the brand to life a little bit. But the red really pops. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was something that's on the can that says European roots and a Caribbean soul. I don't know if it was ever intentional, but something it always caught my attention, right? Like the story of the Cuban, right? How, we came from Europe, but
Right.
you know,
I mean,
our direct ancestors are from
there is a
from
correlation
Cuba.
there. There is a correlation. The correlation is that it's a European product,
Right.
from Germany, and then basically, and Caribbean folks are going to be pushing the product. In other words, so yes, basically a lot of
I
our
always
roots,
saw like the double tie.
a lot of our
from,
roots are
Europe.
European. You know, mine is my
Exactly.
grandfather
Direct
was
ancestors.
from Catalunya. He was from, and my grandmother was from Galicia. So basically, yes, there is a correlation.
Definitely.
And again, one of the ideas for Johnny Cuba was to kind of instill those old things to next generations coming up. You know, because Johnny Cuba, to me, I call it a Cuban American thing, or a Miami thing.
Or,
you know,
the Spanglish.
You know, the Johnny and then the Cuba. And so basically, it's just to keep.
Yeah, because people in Miami have like their own version of Spanish at this point.
Exactly. You know, so basically, you know, look at Stay Tranquilo.
Exactly.
You know, basically, so kind of, you know, it was born from that. You know, I said, listen, my next generation, it's kind of like a legacy project for me.
Yeah.
You know, basically, I'll push it along the line as long as God gives me health. You know, kind of push it along, and then hopefully,
and let
the next generation gets involved and just, you know, we want to develop, but it's a lifestyle brand. It's not only going to be spirits or alcohol.
Of course.
I'm working on a Cuban coffee, espresso coffee.
Cool.
You know, and actually, believe it or not, hot sauce. You know, a hot sauce out of Jamaica. You know, and basically it's just, I noticed that and I look, again, I'm in the food trade, so I look at different habits. And one of the habits is like, you know, my girls consume hot sauce. I
love.
I grew up with hot sauce. What the heck was that?
I put hot sauce on my eggs.
You know, so you know, again, it's trying to tie in that next generation with the old generation. You know, it's like, you know, maybe on scrambled eggs. You know, when they do the eggs, or, you know, over easy, put the hot sauce on there. You know, so again, it's as I say, it's a work in progress, and hopefully, you know, I can push it along a long way. You know, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, the beer started April of 2020.
2021. 2021.
2021, yeah.
2021 this year.
True.
And
2021.
It's been competitive. You know, it's a competitive space. Trying to look for different markets, not to depend on just one market. I mean, I've done that in my food business.
Right.
You know, where we opened up Miami. We opened up Tampa, Atlanta, and New Jersey. Put eggs in different markets, or baskets in this city, its markets and stuff like that. And that's something that, and beer was another stuff for us, because a lot of the supermarkets down here have beer and wine licenses. So, you know, it wasn't rocket science. I knew that I had a good platform with my client, with the stores, and they were very receptive. You know, they've been very receptive. Friends, you know, we got behind it. I wanted to do this to have fun. Yeah. Am I having fun yet? Not yet. Not yet. There's a
process for sure.
There's a series of stuff. I mean, trade right now is really difficult in any industry right now with what's going on.
In a post-COVID world, no one really expected. I mean, that's an obstacle in itself.
Yeah, correct.
That no one was really expecting. I mean, between the logistical issues, some of the issues getting cans. It's been a mission.
Shortages throughout the world, global shortages.
Exactly. I mean, I heard something with like Corona, the actual like beer Corona, with the bottles, that they were having a back order on a lot of orders because they couldn't get the actual bottles themselves.
Not so much anymore, because they got good stock now. At least in this market.
Yeah.
See, the biggest beer markets are, what I've analyzed and studied is New York, Miami, and Texas. Those are the three large
for beer
consumption
specifically. Okay.
You know, for beer consumption. Now, I don't know how to rank it, craft beers or domestic beers or imported beers and stuff like that, but they're big markets.
And right now the beer can only be found in Florida, correct?
Right now in Florida and in the Caribbean.
Which in Haiti?
Haitian, because that's a big platform of mine, that we have a whole product line designed for that, and it's been they accepted it well. You know, it's a lager. Basically, it's a light, what I call a light lager. You know, and it's very prevalent in the Caribbean, these lagers. Pilsners are not so much in the Caribbean, more lagers.
Yeah, definitely.
Type of thing. And again, learning as I go along, you know, as far as the trade. But I've had it's had good acceptance there.
It definitely has. And for anyone that hasn't tried the beer, We're not biased. It's a good beer. To give you a little bit of background, it's 5%. It's a German lager, but very light, very crisp, very easy drinking. So something like on a summer day, you can pound a couple of them.
Pound a couple and stay tranquilo.
And you can stay tranquilo. That's the motive at the end of the day. I don't know. Do you think there's a beer that you can compare to that if someone goes, oh, what does it remind you of? Is there something out there? Because every time someone asks me, it's like, what does it taste like? And I'm like, I always struggle with that.
You know what? I never give the brand name that I'm going to tell them what it compares.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a lager.
Yeah.
Try a lager. It's a light lager. And actually, when you really appreciate it on a hot day, like, on a boat or outside or basically out playing a soccer game, just really cold. It's really good. It's really refreshing.
It really
I mean,
is.
Basically, it's funny. When the first time I came across it, I was in Germany. I was at a trade show and they invited me. The brewery invited me to go to dinner. So in Germany, the taxi were kind of difficult to get. There was a shortage of taxis, so heck, I walked to the restaurant from the hotel. It was like 9 blocks, but long blocks. So it was about in 45 degrees to 50 degrees. So it was a chilly night. But I walked, and when I got there, I got like, hey, Liz, what do you want? He goes, I need a cold beer because believe it or not, I'm thirsty. And he goes, I tell you what, we're chilling some of our beer. Try it. And when I drank it from there, I kind of fell in love with the product. Yeah. And then actually, based on that, I brought samples, and we did a focus. You were part of the focus.
I remember that.
You were part of the focus group, and
we tried this one. And I think another beer. I don't know if it was from the same.
No, we did. We tried when we did it. We did an experiment. Remember, we had a brewer.
Compared some other.
Chris.
Yes, that's right.
I enlisted Chris to do. Contracted him to do some sampling
because I wanted with the jasmine rice.
With the jasmine rice, and basically we actually produced it, and I loved the beer.
It was a really good beer.
But when we started doing the research,
the logistics of having
it was a nightmare. I mean,
to do that on a mass scale would have been pretty much
and I couldn't compete with pricing because I had to price it at a craft beer price.
Exactly.
And I wasn't a craft beer.
No. It could be a second iteration of another beer, but
I didn't have we didn't have a brewery ourselves. Exactly, so basically, so I said, you know what, let me research this, and that's when I ended up with this brewery, and I go, it's a win-win situation. They had no footprint. Now they do have a footprint with their brand.
They definitely do. So another thing that I wanted to ask you, obviously, and you've touched on it a little bit, but it's been a couple months now into the brand. Where do you see the brand like in 5 years from now? When you started this, what was the big picture vision of Johnny Cuba?
It developed a kind of an unorthodox brand when it came to. I wanted to get involved in spirits. The spirits were the vodka, right? Because it was good cross marketing with my business side, the food side, and the beverage side. So kind of that, basically develop into the spirit line, add some unique foods. And hopefully, one of the things I wouldn't mind opening up is teaming up with somebody or licensing out. The whole thing is licensing out the brand to a restaurant person, I even talked about a food truck, and stuff like that. But within that range is just expanded out, exactly. And see what happens. It's really it's kind of, take it as it comes.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. We're kind of old school when it comes to that. I'm using more than ever social media and stuff like that. That's basically
powerful tool.
You're kind of teaching me how to, and it does work. I did see the difference, and maybe later on expanding to look for wines and stuff like that.
Definitely.
In Portugal and Argentina, and basically diverse the line that way.
Yeah,
under one brand, under one umbrella of the Johnny Cuba umbrella.
All right, cool.
So that's kind of where I hope to see it one day.
So something that I've noticed, as obviously I shop for the beer. I've seen some competitors in the market that are out there right now that tie themselves to the Cuban heritage and Cuban messages. What is it that, separates Johnny Cuba from them and overall from the brand message and just the overall product?
Well, basically, a lot of these brands are they're playing with the sentiments. They're knockoffs of other brands that actually exist on the island and stuff like that. And, I've never said that it's not a Cuban beer.
Yeah.
Now it's a Cuban tasting beer. It's a lager, Cubans like,
they like their lagers.
I mean, I've been in the trade for a long time, so I've seen different brands evolve through the years, and the taste profiles are lager. They consume lagers, but basically, again, I'm a German lager. I'm not basically Johnny Cuba. Just has to be the name, and there's a name behind. There's a reason behind the name and stuff like that. And when it comes down to it, it's a good marketing name.
Yeah,
basically a marketable name.
And it's a way, like the hashtag that we run with, which is "Pass Me a Johnny," right? So for every time you're passing a Johnny, you're like keeping the tradition alive of the Cuban American tradition, right? It's passing it on to, like you always say, the next generation.
The next generation. The next generation of Miami, because there's a saying, Cuban American, Peruvian American, Colombian, but really, man, we're American Cuban, we're American Peruvian, we're American Colombian. Exactly. We were born here, you were born here, so basically I was born here, so basically we're American Cuban. Yeah. And for us really it's just keeping that, this is our Caribbean. We're a peninsula that we live here, but this is really our Caribbean, tied with bridges, exactly. One of my famous rides is down to Key West.
We're like an earthquake away from becoming an island.
Yeah. Well, so basically, it's just, it's an island thing. It's a Miami thing,
definitely.
And Miami people, they love going to Keys. I love going to Keys.
I love the Keys. It's my happy place.
Hopefully we get to sell some product down there. That's what I'm hoping.
That's the next step.
Yeah.
So obviously, Stay Tranquilo is a part of the beer, right? Mm-hmm. And it's something that is kind of like the motto of.
It's a mantra.
It's the brand.
It's a state of mind.
Yeah.
Exactly. Basically, and Stay Tranquilo per se is Stay Tranquilo, but you can apply it to your personal life. You can apply it to your business life. It's chill. Basically,
it's a mindset. Is the way I like to look at it.
And basically, it's a mantra. It's a mantra to live by.
Definitely. So. Yeah. All right. Cool. So as we're gonna wrap it up, wanted to do something cool at the end of the segment, which is something that the Danny and the team had brought up, and it's called "Talk Tranqui to Me," right? So talk tranqui to me. So just quick rundown of questions. Fun open-ended questions. We're gonna change them up every week. Right. Obviously, this is the new coming out party of the podcast, so that was something that we wanted to start today. But basically, the first question is favorite Cuban food dish. So something that you think is your favorite go-to. Ropa vieja.
Yeah, with white rice. Man.
Is there a specific place that has the best ropa vieja?
My grandmother made the best ropa vieja.
Okay,
my wife makes a pretty good second.
It's always the grandma.
Myra makes a pretty good second one, but basically it's home. It's home because it's home cooked, man.
No, it's true. My grandma always cooked the best.
And boliche. Boliche, those are two I'm a meeting guy. So basically boliche, one grandmother did a great, my other grandmother did the ropa vieja. She was gallega, but she was migrated to Cuba and stuff like that. But those two things are my favorite Cuban. And good croquetas too.
Good croqueta. Yeah. Do you have a place for best croqueta recommendation?
Tell you what,
it's a hot topic.
Actually, yes, I found a little place in Hialeah where I started to eat, and the guy actually makes it. It's called La Bodeguita.
Okay.
It's there in Hialeah off of Red Road, 4th Avenue, and he actually commercializes it. He actually sells them by the box, by a dozen, if you want to take them home and fry them.
Okay.
But those are my two favorite.
Top two.
Those basically, and ropa vieja is like home. The home. Myra learned quick. It's funny because when Myra went to learn la ropa vieja, my grandmother came over. Well, my grandmother doesn't write it. Myra had her notebook, and my grandmother was just making the stuff at basically a little salt, a little this. But how much? My mother kept saying, how much? I just throw it in
crazy. There. Yeah, it's funny because my grandma obviously is from Cuba as well, but she didn't learn how to cook until she got here into the U.S. She never cooked in Cuba. When she came here to the U.S. and my grandpa was working, that's when she had to start learning how to cook. So she started learning probably in her early 20s, and now she cooks all the time, and it's ridiculous. And she's writing her little cookbook so that again passing on to the next generation, because if not it won't stay alive.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Next question, it's just really quick, mountains or beach, which one do you prefer?
Tell you what, I like the beach, but I got a little bit of the mountains in Arizona.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't mind doing Arizona for, you know. So it's a mixture. I would say a mixture really cool.
I'm stuck between the two too. We used to go to North Carolina all the time, and it hits so different. But there's something about being in Miami and in the like that crystal clear water that I don't know why it always brings me back. But the mountains do have a sensitive spot.
I experienced it actually about 3 weeks ago, and I liked it. I told it was just we went to Sedona.
Yeah.
And it was really, really, the weather was nice too, you know, that all goes hand in hand, you know, but so I'm split in the middle, man.
It's in the middle. Yeah. All right. Steak or seafood?
Steak.
Oh yeah. How do you feel about that?
I'm sorry. I mean, enchilada camarón is pretty good, but but make you a steak guy.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go seafood on that one.
Right.
I love steak. I'm the biggest steak guy, but seafood, you got so many different options. Action movie or scary movies?
Action
movies. Okay. And then favorite destination that you've been to, all time.
Favorite destination, Spain.
Really? Why Spain?
The culture. I went to Barcelona. I like Barcelona. Very clean, very very fast, very cosmopolitan, I guess is the word. But Madrid, the history, I actually happened to stay in Old Madrid, and we walked, and I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to go back type of thing.
Everybody says the same thing. I've never been to Europe, but everybody says that that area, it's a different life, but the atmosphere there.
I compare it to our California. California is a lot like, you know, the Mediterranean. We have Pacific Coast, and they have the Mediterranean. So you have mountains, you have wineries, you have the weather changes. You go up to the mountain, it's cold. You know, you don't need air conditioning. You go down to the city. Downstairs. So basically, it's but I would say Spain. Basically is to visit Spain. But I would want to do other countries. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Corona kind of put a
damp on that, but travel's back and probably bigger than ever before.
I would imagine so.
People are flooding to travel right now.
So, but definitely Spain.
Cool. All right. Well, that wraps it up for today, guys. For anyone listening, you could follow us at johnnycuba.us on Instagram, at Stay Tranquilo on Instagram as well, on Facebook at Johnny Cuba. But if you're looking to find the beer, right now we're only in Florida. We're looking to expand into other markets very soon. But definitely follow us to stay up tuned on any new products, any new locations. And that's pretty much it. Anything else before we close?
Stay thirsty.
If you want to follow Juan on Instagram, you can follow him too.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Juan.
All right, man.
Cheers.